Capital Farm Credit Wednesday night podcast, our weekly look at the area athletic scene, what happened last week and what's going on this week. I'm here with my partner via Zoom, Dan Youngblood. And tonight, Dan, we have a special guest, Brock head baseball coach Hart Hering.
Yeah, Coach Hering's got his team in the state tournament for the second time since 2018. And he's done a great job with this club. It's kind of a vintage Brock team in that it puts a ton of pressure on defenses with small ball, with the running game. And then like a lot of the best Brock teams in the past, it has a whole lot of pitching to go with that. So it's going to be a good time talking to Coach Hering about this group, about what it's accomplished. This has been kind of an interesting season for Brock in that they played a whole lot of larger schools in the non-district portion of their seasons. They just played a brutal non-district schedule in order to get ready for this point and lost quite a few of those games. They had double-digit losses, or right around double-digit losses coming into the playoffs. And a lot of those were to teams that were larger schools. So it kind of deceived some people into thinking maybe this Brock team wasn't quite as good as some of those they've had in the past. But like I said, this is kind of a vintage Brock team. They're going to be able to put pressure on whoever they play at state. They're going to open the semifinals with Corpus Christi, London, a really good London team. But the way Brock plays, they put pressure on everybody. So it's going to be interesting to see what they can do when they get down to Round Rock. And I'm excited to talk to Coach Hering about the season they've had and about this team's mindset going down there to state.
Before we jump into this week's show, we need to thank our primary sponsor, Capital Farm Credit, with offices all over Texas, including Stanford and Abilene. Buy your own slice of Texas with Capital Farm Credit. Together, we're better. And with that, we're gonna jump into what happened last week amongst the big country teams that are still alive, or at least were last week. Beginning with the Stanford softball team, I went down to Austin last week to McCombs Field and watched as Stanford won its first ever state championship in softball. They knocked off Weimer, they knocked off Crawford in a couple of one-run ball games. And what can I say? We were talking about the possibility of this happening, but they're so young. They have a number of juniors on this ball club, including their pitcher, Silali Gutierrez. So I was thinking maybe, a bunch of juniors, they might hit a stumbling block along the way and not get it done this year, but next year. Well, guess what? They got it done this year.
Yeah, and showed a whole lot of mental toughness in the process. They were down 4-1 late in that championship game. Had made some uncharacteristic mistakes early in that game that kind of allowed, that kind of created that deficit. But they kept battling it. They got a little bit of from the weather with the weather delay, lightning delay, and they came back from that and went on a big rally, took advantage of the other team's mistakes. So a lot of mental toughness there.
Yeah, well, I mean, we've long talked about how state can change. Just the atmosphere of state is a factor. It is. And it was for Stanford in that championship game, a huge crowd. I mean, that place was absolutely packed, and the Crawford fans were making a lot of racket. I mean, they were loud and they were a little intimidating, actually, for a bunch of high school girls, a little intimidating. And Stanford made 4 errors in the first 3 innings on plays that even Cynthia Herrera, the coach, has said, they've been making these plays since the 4th grade. But you get them in that situation, it's different. And so they came out of the gate a little nervous, but we had a lightning delay. And you know what? After that lightning delay, Stanford came back. It's like they got it all out of their system, the nerves. They came back off the rain delay. And guess what? It was Crawford that all of a sudden had the pressure on them. And they started making the blunders. Stanford had 4 errors in the first 3 innings. Crawford had 4 errors in the final 2 innings. And it turned the ball game around. Stanford took it 6-5.
And I think the thing that's really impressive about that is that Crawford was kind of the state veterans. This is a program that's been kind of a power for a long time in softball. And Stanford's kind of the new kid on the block, kind of the upstart program, a really talented young team. So you would think in that situation after a lightning delay that where both teams had an opportunity to regroup, that maybe Crawford would be an advantage there. But you got to give a lot of credit to Stanford for being able to kind of put some of the mistakes behind them, find a way. And I think that was kind of the story of this game. They found a way to win it and are state champions as a result. But this is a really fun season for the Lady Bulldogs. one where they weren't really shying away about saying, hey, our goal is a state championship. I mean, Coach Cynthia Herrera, I think in like about the second round, was saying we're going all the way, and sure enough they did. So really impressive, and it's been fun to follow. And the really scary thought is that Stanford may be better next year. In fact, there's a very high likelihood they will be. They only graduate one player. So this is going to be a very dangerous team next year.
If they do their work and take care of business, they're going to be better next year. There's no reason for them not to be. You know, as long as they take care of business, they will be. Switching to baseball. We lost the Anson Tigers last week. They fell in 3 games to New Deal. Both of you and I attended parts of that series. You were there for games 1 and 2. I was there for game 3 on Saturday in Seminole. By the way, Seminole is a hall. That place is out there. But you know what? Even though Seminole is a hall, they got a beautiful ballpark. It was worth the trip.
Yeah, it's a great ballpark. It was, and I kind of see now. I was wondering why they would kind of triangulate the neutral site to Seminole for New Deal and Anson, but after seeing that ballpark, I can understand why that would be a really good place to play a region championship. And it was a great series. I think Anson ran out of gas a little bit in game 3, but the first 2 games of that series were really tight. Either team could have won. I mean, they kind of were decided in the later innings. And the first game was an 8-inning game where New Deal broke a tie in the top of the 8th to win that one. And then in game 2, Anson had a couple of big innings. They trailed early and were able to kind of put together a couple of rallies and really hold off New Deal from there. But those were 2 really good baseball teams. We knew they were going to be. Congratulations to New Deal for outlasting Anson. But I think these were both really quality ball clubs, and either one would have represented this region well at state.
And with that, the Stephenville Yellow Jackets are heading down to state. They'll be playing in Austin at Dish Falk Stadium on the campus of the University of Texas, facing Texarkana Pleasant Grove, an outstanding ball club from East Texas. Stephenville's gotten there via pitching, Dan, and one guy in particular, a left-hander, Reese Elston, has caught your attention. He's just been outstanding in postseason play. Unique pitcher, 2-seam fastball, 4-seam fastball, curve, changeup, excellent control, but a very relaxed, almost very deliberate motion. It doesn't look like it's going to be coming in very hard, and then all of a sudden he releases it and there's some pop behind it. Reminds me of Bob Nepper, a guy that used to throw for the Astros a long time ago. I'm dating myself.
Yeah, I think you're right. He's good. Yeah, but he does have a very effortless delivery. I mean, it's something that's really repeatable. I think it's part of the reason that he's had the success that he has throughout the playoffs, and he has had a ton of success in the playoffs. He is 5-0, having allowed 4 runs, just 3 earned in 33 innings of work in the postseason. So you're talking about just a really dominating performance in his 5 postseason starts. And each one of those has been a clincher. He's clinched each of their series to get to state. I mean, he's been dominant. He's been an absolutely dominant pitcher for him. And he's backed up another good starter in the Dill kid. So it's not like they haven't gotten good starts out of him as well. So that's going to be interesting to see as they go down to state where basically everyone's accustomed to that same type of success. Everybody's riding a wave of momentum. But it's been really fun to watch this Stephenville team and do what they've done in the playoffs. I don't think a whole lot of people probably expected them to be here. I think everybody thought they were a good team, but I don't think anybody thought they were quite this good. But they got to the playoffs, started playing. I mean, they kind of hit their stride, and they've been playing really good baseball now for a couple of months. I mean, they got on a roll that hadn't ended yet. So it's going to be interesting to see how far they can take it now that they're going to Austin. But congratulations, Coach Swinson and this team. They deserve a ton of credit for what they've done.
All right, before we bring on Coach Hart Hering of Brock, we need to thank our sponsors. First and foremost, Capital Farm Credit, who brings you these Wednesday night podcasts free of charge throughout the school year. Also, for the love of the game broadcasting, and our old friend Terry Slavens, owner of K-Lakes 93.5 FM out of Breckenridge, KATX 97.7 FM out of Eastland, Classic Country AM 1330 out of Graham, KWKQ 94.7 FM out of Graham, KROO 1430 AM out of Breckenridge, and KWBY 98.5 FM out of Ranger. That is for the love of the game broadcasting. Also, Phil Hill of the Abilene Realtors Group, big supporter of local athletics. If you're in the market, give him a call at 325-669-5153 or go to his website at philhillproperties.com. And finally, Jack's Road Boring out of Snyder, dirt sales and services. With experience and service you can count on, Larry Green is the man to talk to you out there. Give him a shout at 325-575-8004. That's Jack's Road Boring in Snyder. And with that, Mr. Youngblood, it is just about time to bring on Coach Hart Hering. I've been watching Brock now for a number of years. This is a well-coached, well-disciplined ball club, and they play they almost play, I'm sorry to say it, man, being a veteran of the old fast pitch softball wars, these guys play a variety of baseball that is very similar to what you see at high level men's fast pitch softball. A lot of bunting, putting a lot of pressure on the corners, constantly getting them to move around. It's fast pitch softball on a baseball field, and it works for them.
Yeah, and I think basically they've made the calculation that they can execute better than the opponent can, and generally speaking, they've been right. They execute their offense really, really well. A lot of bunting, like you said. And one thing I think is interesting, and I had a conversation with Coach Hering for a feature I'm working on about this offensive style, was that he says we bunt a lot, but we bunt for base hits. He said we're not trying to sacrifice bunt. If it becomes a sacrifice bunt, great, but we're bunting for hits, and you can tell in the way that in just how they're able to execute their bunts, that's kind of the focus with each one of these. They're almost all right down the line and tough to defend. So this is a team that puts a ton of pressure on, and a lot of it is interesting because I think some of it is kind of smoke and mirrors because it's fake bunting, it's fake stealing, where it puts pressure that doesn't actually exist on pitchers and on defense. So I think is interesting. They've kind of made it a part of their strategy is that they're going to be able to put pressure and make people feel pressure even when it's not even necessarily there, which I think is a pretty impressive deal. But
and they get you down. Right. If they get you down and they get you rattled, if they get you down and they get you rattled, you're in a lot of trouble. And if you cannot field bunts and throw strikes, you're you're probably going, like you said last week, you're probably going to get run ruled, and that's exactly what we saw in the shallow water series in Game 3. If you don't field the bunts, if you don't throw strikes, before you know it, you're down by 10.
Yeah, and that's really the name of their game. Is they're not a team that's going to hit 3-run home runs. I mean, they're a team that's going to put together 3- and 4-run innings with just one, just manufacturing one run after another. But what's interesting about it is it feels like it's kind of like a death by 1,000 cuts, because it's just one play after another where they're just executing, and you look up and you're down 9-1, and you don't really know exactly how it happened. But it is very unique style. They executed extremely well, and I think it comes down to what you just said. They are an extremely well coached team, and it's going to be fun talking to Coach Hering about some of the things that they do.
And the thing is too is once they get you down, they've got the pitching to keep you down.
Yep. And defense, they defend well too. They don't make a lot of errors. So
yes.
It's going to be interesting talking to Coach Hering about all of these things, because there are a lot of aspects about that team that I want to touch on with him.
All right, you all set?
Yeah, let's go ahead and get him on.
And joining us now, Brock head baseball coach Hart Hering. Coach, thank you so much for joining us.
My pleasure. Happy to be here.
First off, congratulations on making it to the state tournament at Dell Diamond in Round Rock. Now, we've seen a number of our teams from the Big Country area make it there in the past, and a certain percentage of them, I mean, it's a beautiful ballpark. It's huge. Tell us about, and we've seen a number of teams of ours get affected by that. I can't really see that happening to Brock, but tell us about your approach going into this place, maybe to prevent that from happening.
Sure, it's surely a factor. We want our kids to kind of get over the ooh and ah of the facility itself, and just being there in the magnitude of the stage and the environment that they're going to be playing under. It's big, and it can really, if you're not prepared for it, it can really alter the way you kind of approach things. And so, I was talking to my coaching staff a little bit. We made the trip in 2018, and we learned a lot. Valuable experience from making that trip, and things we would like to do different this go around. And it's certainly something that you have to consider as a coach, and how you prepare your team. And that's it is. It can take your breath away. It really can. So that's it's a big deal, and it's something that we have to ensure that that our kids aren't blown away by the whole experience.
Okay.
Coach, y'all are coming off an impressive win in the region championship against Shallow Water, kind of coming back from a Game 1 loss, playing a couple of games with your back against the wall, and really looking really good in game 2 and game 3. I guess just talk about that series and just what your team was able to do in those last 2 games in terms of kind of regrouping and really taking care of business.
Yeah, I thought they handled it well after the tough first night and game 1 loss. And we knew we were going to be up against a quality ball club in Shallowater. Coach Barnes does a really good job with those guys, and we knew they would come out with their best shot. And they went after us in the first game with their number 1 arm, and we expected that we would be in for a tough game. And we got down early and made some miscues early that they capitalized on, to their credit. And we got where we were chasing runs in that first game, and we made a significant comeback and made it interesting late, and had some threats and some opportunities to try to sneak that one back out. But it didn't work out for us, so we kind of had to go back to the drawing board and regroup and just settle our kids down. And they obviously know that their backs were against the wall and that we were going to have to play well and perform at our best to even the series and just give us a chance in game 3. And they to their credit, they did that. They relaxed a little bit and they settled in, and then they kind of got back to what we did up until the point where we got there. And so that's it's important that our kids are tough and resilient, and they're fighters. And so we knew that they would come out swinging, and we got off to a great start in game 2. And it helped us settle in and get a little more comfortable in playing our style of baseball. And, once we did that, then I think they gained some confidence, knowing that, if we just do what we're capable of doing, then the opponent and the school board, we're not playing those guys. We're just playing our brand of baseball. And so game 2 and game 3 were big. We came off to a great start, and that's been our formula all year to be successful is scoring early and then creating some separation on the school board, just applying lots of pressure. And, that was what we were able to do in game 2 and game 3.
Coach, tell us about Corpus Christi London and what you've learned about them, and how much midnight oil you've had to burn to try to find out things about them.
Yeah, they're relatively a new school. I think they are established in 2012. And so there's just not a lot of history on those guys. And the information that we've tried to gather has been tough to come by, and we've had to do a lot of digging. And certainly our coaching staff has really put forth a lot of effort to just try to find out as much as we can, just so we have a little bit of a game plan going into it. They're a quality club. They obviously wouldn't be at this point in the season if they weren't. And they've had a nice season, and they played some tough competition and have managed to put together a pretty impressive record throughout this season. And, we know they have a tough left-handed pitcher that's been kind of the ace of their pitching staff. And he's got great stuff. He's a junior left-hander, and he's been tough on everybody down that way. And so we expect to get him. And I know they're fairly comparable to us athletically. They're really, really smart and aggressive on the base pass. They got a lot of team speed. I think they're relatively young position player wise. They start a pretty good handful of underclassmen. And, I think there's going to be a lot of similarities in the matchup. It's pretty even going into it. And so, we're excited about the opportunity. We're definitely going to respect those guys because, like I said, they wouldn't be at the state tournament if they didn't put together some impressive wins along the way. And so we expect it to be a knockdown, drag out, pretty solid dogfight of a game. So we're definitely looking forward to it, and I know they are too.
Coach, you have a lot of guys on your team who have been part of deep playoff runs or just deep runs with different sports. How much does it help with the overall athletic program success that y'all have had to have kids who have been in these types of moments, even if it's not necessarily in baseball?
Oh, it's a huge experience, from having guys in your program that have been on big stages before. And, whether it be in football or basketball or baseball, it doesn't matter. They know what the environment they're going to be playing under. They know the big lights, and they're really well trained in that area. So I feel confident that some of our leadership internally within the team can provide a calming effect on some of the younger guys that are making their first trip or playing in the first state championship tournament. So, I think having them being exposed to big games and big matchups, and it does allow them to have that experience to draw on, and I think it's certainly an advantage for us. These kids are no stranger to big games, and they thrive off of it. They really do, and our team's done a good job of handling any type of pressure. And we talk to them often about, pressure is kind of perceived. If you feel like there's pressure, then there probably is. But if you can take it and just strip it down to the basics of, hey, it's just another game, which I know is cliche, and I know a lot of people say that, but our kids really take to that, and I feel like they do handle themselves emotionally in the big ones.
Coach, midway through the season, when you played at Early, I was talking to you after the ball game, and I did ask you a question about your pitching depth because you were kind of sizing up Jim Ned at the time. And I asked you a question about your pitching depth, and you were very confident that you had the pitching depth for a very deep run. And here we are. And pitching depth played a key role in it.
No doubt. We are not afraid to go to the bullpen at any point of any game. Our starting pitching has been solid all year. Those guys have done a really good job for us. And we've kind of used a 3-man rotation throughout district just to save some miles on those arms and allow them that if we were fortunate enough to make a deep playoff run, that they would still feel fresh and not be kind of dragging late in the year. So, that was our expectation going into the season, that we felt like we had a group that could make a run. Obviously, our experience and the tradition here at Brock has been one that, deep playoff runs are kind of just a part of what we do, what we expect to do each and every year. So we've been in the regional finals 4 out of the last 5 eligible postseasons. Obviously, with 2020 and COVID, no postseason. But our guys have been in big moments and big games. Our pitching has really been the staple of our program since day one. In my 6 years here, we've always relied on great starting pitching and some guys that can throw strikes and mix it up out of the bullpen. So this year is no different. We do have a lot of depth. We can count on upwards of 6 or 7 guys that we feel really confident that can go out there and throw strikes, compete, and get people out. So we have a ton of depth, and we've used it. And these guys are all comfortable coming in any type of situation, in any type of ball game. And they know that they have the one of the top defenses in the state behind them. And, they feel confident they can go out there and throw strikes and pitch to contact. Those guys will make the plays behind them. And, we can take care of holding opponents' lineups down from the mound.
Coach, you mentioned something interesting earlier when you said that pressure is perceived, and I feel like that kind of plays hand in hand with the offensive style that y'all have, which is kind of unique in that y'all do like to put a whole lot of pressure on opponents with the running game, with small ball and those sorts of things. So I guess talk a little bit about that style of play and just kind of how you developed it.
Yeah, we built our program offensively around applying pressure to the defense, and we try to create as much movement defensively as we can for the opposing team. And we feature a lot of different elements to do that. And with our personnel and the players in our program, we're blessed to have a ton of great athletes. We have a ton of team speed, and, we try to put them in situations that we can make the defense uncomfortable. And, for me, that's the name of the game is trying to not only score early, but then keep applying that pressure to extend leads and, create some separation on the scoreboard. But one of the ways we do that, is just most people would say we're aggressive or even over aggressive. And I can see where people would say that, but we feel it's pretty calculated. We do a ton of things in our program that helps prepare our kids to execute certain things that allows us to create that movement, whether it be fake bunting, fake stealing, and we have the guys that can do that. And so the small ball style and the aggressive base running, although we don't really call it aggressive base running, we call it calculated. We do take a risk at times, And there's times where when it doesn't work out, it appears that we kind of ran ourselves out of innings. We're okay with that. We know that the kids are not going to execute 100%. They're going to make some mistakes, but if they're flying around doing it 100 miles an hour, then we feel like at some point, even the mistakes we made, the times that we do execute it well, it's going to pay off, and it can kind of lead to some bigger innings. And we're pretty relentless when we get on top, and we can create a little bit of chaos on the defensive end for the opposing team. So yeah, it's pressures. We tell our kids all the time that pressure bursts pipes. And so if you get enough pressure in a pipe, it's going to burst. And so that's kind of our motto, if you will, is that, we put enough pressure in the pipe that it's going to burst. So, we take pride in what we do. It's a little unique. It's not like everybody else. And we just felt like it fits our kids, and it's been pretty successful to this point. And so, I think, it does make us a little different, but I think really helps us with who we have.
Coach, your speed and athleticism benefits you offensively, but it also benefits you defensively. And we saw an example of that to close out that shallow water series in Game 3 with an unassisted double play by Cash Jones from center field. Now, I've been around baseball a long time. I've never seen that. Can you talk a little bit about that play and how much your athleticism has helped you defensively also?
Well, that was a special play. That was something that you don't ever hardly see. I've been around baseball a long time as a player and as a coach, and I'm not sure I've ever seen it either. An unassisted double play by an outfielder is super rare. Just kind of it played out that way. Cash has unbelievable speed. He won state in track as a part of our Brock track team that won the state championship this year in track and field. And he's a game changer. He's a top end burner. He's got unbelievable speed, and him offensively, when he can bunt or even if he hits an infield chopper, he's going to make every play really close. And we've been fortunate enough to beat out a lot of singles and infield singles and choppers and things like that. But you're right, Evan. It helps us tremendously on the defensive end. We're able to range and get to balls that most 3A kids aren't getting to. And, I think we have a super athletic outfield that it's almost like a blanket out there. Any ball that goes up, we got a chance to go run it down. And, along with that, obviously athleticism, but our outfield's got tremendous arm strength. I hear some oohing and ahhing in pregame in and out when we take pregame infield and outfield before the games, and people are going, "Oh my gosh, look at that throw! It was right on the money." And then like the range, what I was alluding to earlier, like Jackson Gleaton made a tremendous diving play behind second base bag. He ranged from his shortstop position behind the bag, slid, popped up, threw it, and was able to get a pretty good runner out from shallow water. He's made several of those Web Gym highlight Sports Center type plays all year. We just have a ton of athleticism. They guys take a lot of pride in their defense. They prepare on a daily basis to ensure that, if our pitchers make a good pitch and we get a routine ball or even a tough ball, they're going to go make a play on it. And defensively, we've been probably one of the best defensive teams I've had in my 6 years here. And I would argue that we're one of the top defensive teams, top to bottom, in the state of Texas. And, it's a credit to our kids and how hard they work and prepare on that side of the ball. And, it's fun to watch sometimes. I get caught up just being a spectator at times, watching these guys make tremendous plays. And I'd love to take credit for it, but I can assure you that these guys they can do it. And so we don't teach some of that stuff. They just they're just that gifted to go do that. And so it just, their momentum plays, they lift your morale. It gets the dugout going. It creates a lot of energy when those guys can make a spectacular plays. They save us so many runs, and it really is complimentary to our pitching staff that they have confidence that those guys are going to make all the plays behind them.
It would sure be nice to be able to see Peyton Schaefer contribute something to the effort down there in Round Rock. What is his current condition?
He's a tough kid. He tried to grit it out, and we got back to Brock after the series was over. He got it evaluated by our team physician, and they did an X-ray, and in fact, it's broken. So he broke his arm.
Oh, wow.
He won't be able to play in the state tournament. He had surgery at about 7:00 tonight. So he's already getting that repaired, and they'll put a plate in there to stabilize the broken bone. We thought that there was an outside chance that maybe it was a hairline fracture at the time, but we kind of were thinking it was maybe, or hoping that it was more muscular and not into the bone. But come to find out after the X-ray, it was a clean break, and they're going to set it. He's actually probably in the surgery operating room right now, and we're certainly, going to try to rally behind him now, and you can kind of use him as a guy that, he'll get to make the trip with us, and he's promised that he'll be the best dugout team guy he can be, and he wants to be there for those kids, and unfortunately won't get to participate in it, but being a junior, this will be motivation for him to have another big year in his senior year to try to get back there, and then hopefully he'll be able to contribute next time we go down there. But he's been a huge part of our lineup. I mean, he hits in our 3 or 4 hole all year. He's put up astronomical numbers offensively. Got a ton of powers. One of our leading RBI guys, scores a bunch of runs, and finds a way on the base a lot. And so he's been a big part of our lineup all year long. And he plays a good defensive first base, and he's even gave us a lot of quality, meaningful innings on the mound. And without him, it's definitely it's a blow to us, from the playing side of things. But our kids, this is going to provide an opportunity for someone else to step up in his place, and so the kids, they certainly feel for him, and all we can do now is just hopefully he has a speedy recovery and get back on the field at some point next year.
Coach, you talked about how what y'all do offensively is calculated, and that's something that it appears that y'all kind of embrace some of the analytical side of these things with detailed scouting reports and those sorts of things. I guess, can you just talk about kind of what role that has played in the way that y'all do try to maybe attack teams as far as scouting reports and maybe some of the analytics and things?
Yeah, sure. We do. We spend a lot of time in preparation from the coaching side of things, and we just want to provide our kids with the best information we have, and we coach according to that during practice and all the practices leading up to the games. And we definitely spend a lot of time, and the use of video and things like that now is come along, and we're able to just kind of look through box scores and things like that, and determine what their strengths are and what their weaknesses might be, and then obviously we try to exploit those weaknesses, and we're constantly evaluating the team once we get there to the game and finding out who our opponent is. And we definitely bear down on some of the things we look for, and it is calculated to some degree because we use measurables like stopwatch and things like that. We know how fast the pitcher gets the ball to the catcher. We know how fast the catcher is going to get the ball to second base. So with that total time, we know what our kids can steal a base in under a certain time. And so for each kid, we have a steal time. And, once we know kind of what their total time is on their side of it, we kind of determine if we're going to be safe or out. So when the times don't add up, we generally don't run as much. And if we do, we look for something different to go on. Maybe it's a delay steal, or we're looking for their middle guys not covering the bags, or if the catcher goes down to his knees and lobs it back, things like that. We just look for all those things. And so it's pretty precise. It's something that we, have always kind of just evaluated the opposing team to just find where areas that we can maybe try to gain an advantage on. And so, yeah, it's very much calculated. We don't just run to run. We don't just but we're definitely looking for any opportunities to take extra bases. And, that helps our offense. Unfortunately, at a 3 level, you're not going to get 9 hitters that could just mash it all over the yard. we're going to have to do some different things that create offense for us. And, we preach on base percentage. We preach hit by pitch. I think we have 83 hit by pitches on the year as a team, and that's going to break our school record. And it's something that we take pride in. Those guys, if the inside pitch comes their way, there's no even inclination of getting out of the way. They're going to stand in there and take it. And that means they're on base, and that means they're helping the team. And so, the guys have different roles on the team offensively, and some guys we can kind of control their at-bats by, bunting or fake bunting, or some guys are used off the bench and courtesy runner, pinch runner roles that have a tremendous amount of speed. And we time up pitchers, and we try to find their tendencies and things like that. And so all that kind of helps the machine, if you will. It keeps providing fuel to that machine if we can find different guys with different roles, and they can all execute those roles. And it's important for us to use the scouting information we have and evaluate teams and just try to take advantage of any opportunities we can get. Scoring runs is the way you win. And so you can't always do that by just outswinging everybody. So that's why we do so many different varieties of different things. Some call it small ball, some call it, whatever you want. But at the end of the day, it's we're just trying to apply that pressure. And so we've been successful doing that. We've kind of taken this over the last 4 years and just kind of keep tweaking it. And so we're using every information available to try to help our team, to find ways to win.
And Coach, I know that you're not shy about delegating responsibilities to your assistants either. You've got a good staff, obviously, that you're able to rely on. What's that relationship like, and just how much do you depend on those guys to kind of help you with all of this?
100%, man. We have a tremendous coaching staff. I feel like we've been one of the best coaching staffs in the state of Texas at the 3A level, and I've been blessed and fortunate to get a great number of baseball minds together on the staff. And I kind of had opportunity to delegate some roles to different coaches, and it's really helped us all around as a program. And Jacob Clay, he kind of coaches our first base and gives those guys a ton of information as a base coach, but he also really runs the offense. And so, he uses a calculated system that, is a wristband system, and he calls a number and the kids can read it off and understand what he's asking them to do. But he's done a great job. He kind of heads up, the offensive side of things and with the hitting and the bunting. And he's also great on the coaching the bases and stuff like that. So, at practice, we have different guys doing different things. And my background's more on the pitching side of things and defense. And one of our other coaches played at the collegiate level as an outfielder. So he works with those guys and gets those guys prepared to play. And we have a fourth coach, which is a little bit rare for 3A. We have a volunteer assistant coach that just is fresh out of playing Division I baseball. So every coach on our staff played Division I baseball or professionally. So we have a great resource to use with our coaches. Ton of knowledge, and these guys they're all ex-players and think like players and coaches. And so it's been a blessing to have the minds we have in this office to get those guys ready to play. And so, we have a great relationship personally and professionally. We all spend a lot of time together up here at the field or even away from the field. And, our bonds are pretty special, and I couldn't do this without those guys, man. They do a ton of the legwork for us. And, it's nice when you can turn some things over to some certain guys and they do a great job with it. And I never wanted to micromanage this whole thing. I wanted to delegate those responsibilities to them and let them coach. And so I've always allowed them to do that. And, we have a great relationship. We all work together. So it's been nice.
Coach, thank you so much for joining us. Good luck to you and the Brock Eagles down in Round Rock, and we're looking forward to watching you.
Thank you guys for having me. It's been my pleasure.
And that was Brock head baseball coach Hart Hering. His ball club is heading down to Dell Diamond, where on Friday morning they'll be facing Corpus Christi, London in a Class 3A state semifinal. In one of the most beautiful ballparks, really. I'll stack Dell Diamond up with some of these major league ballparks. It's just a beautiful facility.
Yeah, it really is. I got to go down there for Wall's state championship run a couple of years ago. And then I took my son to a Round Rock Express game one summer as well. And that is a beautiful ballpark. It's one that if you're not used to this moment, it can be a little bit, maybe even overwhelming for a team.
And we've seen that happen.
Yeah. But I like this Brock's team's chances of being able to kind of overcome any nerves that they have. This is a team with a lot of players on it that have been in these types of moments before. So
this Brock Ball Club, let's just be honest, this Brock Ball Club is not lacking in the confidence department. It's not. They're not.
It's a confident bunch.
This is a confident team. I've been in that dugout. That's a confident team.
And for good reason. When you look at what these guys have done athletically, not just in baseball, but you look at football, track, basketball, all these guys that have done basically everything they do, they're good at. So they're used to success. And I think that'll be a benefit for them as they get down to Round Rock. And it's going to be fun to see what they can do. This is a team that the way they play puts a ton of pressure on opponents.
And with that, it's time to wrap up the Capital Farm Credit Wednesday night podcast. But before we do that, we want to remind you that we have 3 separate subscription packages here at BigCountryPreps.com. We've got a monthly for $5 a month. We've got a semi-annual 6-month subscription where we knock that price down to $4 a month. And then we have an annual, a 12-month subscription where we knock the price down to $3 a month, a full year, 12 months for $36.
We'd also like to remind you that if you ever see a photo you like in any one of our galleries, it is available for just $7. You can click on that small shopping cart icon to the bottom right, follow the prompt, and purchase as many of those as you would like. But as you scroll through the site, you'll notice that we take a whole lot of photos from these games that we attend. And it's something we really enjoy doing. It's something we are very proud of here at BigCountryPreps.com.
All big country, all high school, all the time. Welcome home.